Please welcome today's hosts, Joseph Darko, Tarek Judy, and Youssef Omar.
25! Let's go! Whoa! Oh my God, I'm excited.
Me too. Welcome to LensFest 2024.
Mate, this is not just any LensFest. This is the best LensFest ever!
Wait, already? We just got started.
Mate, we have new spectacles.
You are right.
We have
You're
new
right.
spectacles.
The
I
best
can't
LensFest
wait
ever.
for you all to try this thing. It's wild.
Well, we're excited to have you from all around the world. What are you doing?
I'm beatboxing.
Come on,
Yellow,
Yusuf.
blue, yellow.
You have a lot of energy for us. Well, we're so happy to have you all here.
We've come together from all over the place. I'm from Australia. Anyone here from Oz? Woo!
Yeah. Woo!
We've got Brazil. Who's from Brazilian in the house?
Woo!
South Africa, France, UK, Netherlands, Lekker, Japan, Turkey. I know I've seen a bunch of people from India. Who's out here from India?
Such a special day, such a special week. Years in the making. We had an amazing day at the Snap Partner Summit yesterday. That live demo, what a feat. And we are so excited to dig even deeper with all of you today. Thank you for sharing this moment with us.
Sorry, Joe, I'm playing golf next to you.
Wait, golf.
I'm actually pretty good. I just got one in, yeah.
Okay, well, great job. Look, thank you indeed. We're so glad you're here with us once again. We have a jam-packed schedule. Well, fellas, do you want to tell the audience what we have in store for them?
Yes, we have a ton of things to share with you today. We will take a peek through how spectacles work, their very unique design, and how to actually start designing and building with them using Lens Studio.
Okay, we're ready to get started, but before we do, the tradition, we started this last year.
Gotta do it.
The opening selfie with the MCs.
Gotta
you guys ready?
do it, yeah.
Are you all ready? You are gonna be in this.
LensFest.
Well, we're gonna open Snapchat, of course, right? Stop looking at my password. And then, ready? On 3, we're all gonna scream and yell LensFest. Ready? 1, 2, 3. LensFest! Let's go! Have a great one. See you soon. Let's go this way.
I am so jealous of Sofia Dominguez for this next session. It's a massive year for Snapchat, right? Probably the biggest year ever. It's a massive year for wearables. We've never seen anything like this. And it is a historical time for augmented reality. To unpack it all, joining us on stage, we've got the founders of Snapchat, Evan Spiegel, Bobby Murphy! Have fun.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us and for the virtual viewers. Just a little bit of context. So there'll be about 10 to 15 minutes of questions that I will ask Evan and Bobby, and then we're gonna kick it over to you all. So start thinking about the questions that you will ask Evan and Bobby. All right, so let's get this show on the road. So this is a question for both of you. Snap was founded 13 years ago. And from the beginning, you've invested in exploring how AR can enhance our relationships with each other and the real world. What first excited you about this technology, and why do you continue to believe in it?
Well, first I'll say, really happy to be here, and thank you to all of you. I mean, this journey is so fun, and it's incredibly inspiring to be able to work with such amazing developers and creators, and I know it definitely motivates our team every day to see what you all create. And what we build together. So it's been great getting here, and we have a long way to go. Let's see, what inspired us? Well, I guess I think early on, we realized that AR was such a fantastic fit for Snapchat. The fact that, this original design choice of Snapchat opening to the camera, and this concept of seeing the world through the Snapchat camera, being able to bring computing and creative experiences into that just made a lot of sense. I remember this was probably about, a little over a decade ago as we started getting excited about this stuff. And we'd been seeing some really, really interesting technology in the space of vision and graphics in particular. And I remember touring a research lab and just seeing a lot of this like fantastic creative technology kind of sitting on the shelf, and us thinking like, oh my God, if we could just like this would fit so well and add just so much value to the frequency of camera use that we see in Snapchat. So I think very, very early on, we got very, very excited about that. And then, of course, realized pretty early that bringing it into a new hardware device was just a whole nother level. And then I'll say too that on the creative side, what's been like endlessly inspiring to me about AR is, unlike any other kind of creative format, the experience that you get as a user, as someone engaging with AR, is totally unique each and every time, because you're seeing the world through your own perspective, and then you're getting a creator or developer's imagination layered on top of that. And so the composition of those two things produces something unique each and every time. And so having worked with our lens designers and creators and our technical teams, I mean, that kind of uncertainty is really, really exciting to kind of develop into. And I think it produces something that feels very personal for end users. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, as Bobby said, thank you all so much for being with us. Your creativity is so inspiring and motivating to our team, and we can't wait to hear from all of you and your questions. So I think one of the things that really excited us in the early days was the way that AR lowered the barrier to self-expression. One of the big questions we got in the early days of Snapchat were from people who hadn't used the product before, and they were like, "What? I'm just supposed to take a selfie? Like, why?" But as soon as we started working on AR lenses, it gave so many people who were maybe uncomfortable taking a selfie and sending it to a friend a reason to create, a reason to express themselves. And that explosion of creativity that was really fueled by augmented reality was incredibly exciting and inspiring to us. And Bobby was so focused on bringing those tools to the creator and developer community. We had been building a bunch of the early lenses ourselves at Snap, and Bobby really saw this opportunity to empower the creativity of so many people, yourselves included, all around the world. And I think ever since then, we've just really been chasing your incredible innovation and creativity to build the best possible tools that we can to make you all as successful as possible. And obviously the platform has grown so much since then. So thank you all so much for inspiring us and challenging us to build better tools for all of you.
Great. Well, both of you touched a little bit on this, but so Lens Studio, who you all are very familiar with, is an AR development tool to build lenses for both mobile and spectacles. Why do you believe in having only one tool to power different platforms is the right approach?
Yeah, well, first, I mean, we're extremely happy with the way that Lens Studio has been built and has progressed over these many years, and extremely confident and optimistic about its future, and very, very committed to it. So I know, in the last few months, there's been some uncertainty around other AR authoring tools, but we're extremely committed to Lens Studio, and hopefully, what we shared yesterday with this new version of Spectacles made that very clear, that this is, for us, this is the way that we see development happening with AR now and into the future. I'll start by maybe discussing why lenses as an application framework for both mobile and spectacles, and the way that I think there are many different potential definitions for lenses, but the way that I think about them are they allow us to see and engage with really engaging, compelling, beautiful AR first, AR native experiences that are super optimized and very, very performant. So if you think back to even just running lenses on Snapchat, our team has spent years investing in getting ML models and rendering technology to run extremely efficiently on a very, very wide range of mobile devices, and in oftentimes very constrained computing environments. And even the design of the carousel itself, the fact that users are swiping through lenses that are loading instantaneously, we've had to put a ton of effort into getting the performance to run that way versus, say, tapping into lenses and then exiting and tapping into other lenses. So I think a lot of that kind of performance knowledge and expertise and optimization actually fit extremely well with bringing AR experiences onto spectacles, where we have even greater kind of compute and battery constraints, and we need to optimize even more towards the specific characteristics of that device. So lenses as an application format for us across mobile and spectacles have made a ton of sense. Maybe to give some examples of like the benefit that we've seen from building a single platform for both, a lot of what we're seeing with spectacles has been kind of incubated in Snapchat and in mobile AR. So things like even the connected lenses, like that is an infrastructure service that we built first for lenses on Snapchat and is now powering the shared AR experiences on spectacles. Things like SnapML were built first for mobile and now are powering, that framework is powering a ton of really interesting use cases in spectacles. A lot of Snapchat services, things like connecting with friends or Bitmoji are kind of built in for Snapchat first and then brought over to spectacles. And what's actually been really exciting is that we've seen the other kind of contribution in the other direction happen too, where the whole Lens Studio 5.0 rewrite was really motivated by us wanting to build a better foundation for larger team, extensible development for spectacles. But that work has given us the ability to much more flexibly create tools and add capabilities for lens creators, both for spectacles and for Snapchat and camera kits. So we continue to see a huge advantage to being in this position where we can build a tool and have control over our ability to kind of optimize at the lowest possible levels, technology and the most advanced vision, graphics to both mobile and spectacles. And so having this single tool has really helped us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing your vision with everyone. I'm sure that's been a question that's very top of mind for many of the folks here. So now this is a question for both of you. What lenses are you seeing that really excite you? And as a quick follow-up question, what sort of lenses would you like the community to build more of?
I'm really excited by a lot of the generative AI lenses that I've seen and the way that people are experimenting with SnapML. I think that is really inspiring. And I think as Bobby shared a couple of the new tools coming to Lens Studio, as I look towards the future, I think things like Easy Lens are going to make it really fun to not only prototype lenses and get your idea out there faster, but also will lower the barrier to more and more people using Lens Studio to develop really compelling and immersive lenses. I also think, just for me personally, given some of the lenses I've had a chance to play with on spectacles, the idea of sharing computing together in the real world is just so fun, and there's nothing else like it. So, the other day we were playing Capture the Flag with Wabi Sabi Games lens, and I was like out of breath running around trying to capture the flag. But to be able to share that experience together is just so much fun. And so I'm really excited to see all of the shared experiences that people are going to build with spectacles and on Snapchat as well.
I'm a huge fan of games, so any lens games I love. Been enjoying like Master Chef and Fruit Bouncer. We called out some of them at the keynote yesterday. So those have been super, super fun. It's been great to see what creators have done with Bitmoji. I think that's a real exciting kind of capability, and as mentioned yesterday, we're continuing to invest in that. So that's been fun to see. On spectacles and maybe just generally, I love the experiences that allow people to get creative in AR. So the Imagine experience that Evan shared on stage. I think some of the tools to kind of create flowers in the world or kind of draw in 3D space and share that. I mean, that's something that my kids at home have had a ton of fun with. So I love experiences that, especially in spectacles, that really kind of allow people to get creative with their space and make something in a lens. So those have been some of my favorites.
All right, a spectacles-focused question. So Snap has been working on spectacles for 10 years. And yesterday, you announced the launch of the new spectacles. Can we get a round of applause, everyone? And not only that, everyone here gets spectacles, so also a round of applause for that. Yes. So congratulations. Tell me, why spectacles? Why Snap OS? Can you just share more about your vision? for both of them?
Yeah, in the early days when we started working on Spectacles, I think the first version shipped in 2016 with a camera. It was really just about getting the camera out of your pocket and allowing people to share their perspective hands-free. And we saw that that was really compelling, but barely scratched the surface of what the Snapchat camera was capable of. And we found that the AR lenses, the experiences within Snapchat were really constrained by this very small screen that was in 2 dimensions, and that made it very hard to share those experiences together with friends. And so that inspired us to push much faster into getting an AR display up and running on Spectacles, which happened in I think that was in 2021. And now really the release of the Snap OS, which allows people to build unbelievably complex, immersive, of course, shared lenses and to deploy them very quickly to Spectacles. And as we look at sort of the long-term trajectory here, it just feels like we're getting very close. We believe that by the end of the decade, there will be millions of people using augmented reality glasses. Hopefully, the vast majority of those will be Spectacles. But it just feels like we're really getting close. And I think, as you've all had an opportunity to try Spectacles and to try Snap OS, we're just so excited to build this future together with all of you. So I'm sure we'll get more into this with the Q&A session. But it's just so exciting. I remember, Bobby and I were really, now we're dating ourselves, but we were really there for the smartphone revolution and the creation of the App Store and all of the really exciting apps that have now, I think, really helped to change the world, Snapchat being one of them. But I think that this transformation will be even more compelling because it's something that actually can be shared together in a real world and in the way that screens just can't accommodate. So we're now so close to fulfilling this vision, and largely thanks to you and all of your support and help. So thank you.
Woo. All right, last question before we open it up. So this is a question to both of you. How do you foresee the ways creators and developers can make money and find success building on Snap AR's evolving platform?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying, I think we all know this is a very nascent field, and so I think our first objective, creatively, technically, but also from a monetization standpoint, is to be flexible and experiment and be adaptive to what we're seeing from creators and from Snapchatters and future Spectacles users. Some things that are working, like we see a lot of opportunity for brands and partners to continue their investment into AR. So that's happening through sponsored AR. With Camera Kit, we're seeing growing interest and looking forward to growing that. So I think those will create interesting opportunities for people to create really fun and high value work. And then our Creator Fund Creator Rewards Fund is a program is doing really well. I think we're very happy with kind of how that's evolving, and we'll continue to iterate on that. But mentioned yesterday that we're growing that, so quite optimistic about it. And then I know we have with Spectacles and other kind of specific development paths or opportunities. We're always looking for ways that we can ourselves fund and invest in really interesting creator work. So there's a lot of things that we're working through, and I think even more things that we'll kind of play with and experiment with, and probably be able to share and talk more about in the coming months and over the next year.
I think it's fun to describe a product that hundreds of millions of people engage with every day as nascent. So I think that gives you a sense for the scale of the ambition here at Snap, and certainly the potential we see for augmented reality. I think so far on Snapchat, folks have had quite a lot of success helping brands and businesses build augmented reality experiences to engage their customers. That's certainly where we've seen a lot of momentum over the years, and a continued significant level of interest, just because the results are there when brands interact and businesses interact with consumers in this way on Snapchat. I think as we look at the future of Spectacles, I think Bobby and the team are really trying to be responsive to the different business models that the developers and creators want to pursue, whether that's subscriptions or in-lens purchase or advertising. And so working together with all of you over the coming years to really build those tools in a way, as we said yesterday, that we can be the most developer-friendly platform in the world is, I think, the way that we can really make this ecosystem successful over time. So we'll really be counting on your feedback and the business models that you want to experiment with and try as we work towards the widespread adoption and rollout of Spectacles.
Great. All right, question time. So who would like to go first? I think we'll have a mic we set up here. So if anyone who has a question, just feel free to walk up to the mic and take it from there. Wow, a lot of questions. Love it.
Hello. Thank you so much for investing in the creator community. You guys have the strongest, and we're all buddies, so that's not an accident.
Hey.
We love creating. My question is just on the future plans for Spectacles. We have, of course, Lenovo, Magic Leap, semi-successfully targeting enterprise with medical, even military contracts. How do you plan to differentiate Spectacles? Is it a consumer-first product? And then how do we plan to, monetize that?
Yeah, our vision is definitely that it's a consumer-first product, and that's why we've really focused on the things that we think can differentiate Spectacles. So, of course, see-through to keep folks grounded in the real world, shared together with friends, because those are the experiences that we found to be extremely compelling. And then, these natural interactions in Snap OS make Spectacles super easy to use. So my favorite thing when people try the new Spectacles is, it takes them seconds to get up and running, and then all of a sudden they're having a blast and using all these different lenses. So I think that ease of use is really important to widespread adoption. I do think the history of technology would show that if you can build a really successful consumer product, that very quickly the enterprise use cases become evident and people want to push harder into the enterprise use cases and categories. But I think holding us to a consumer standard, to build a product that hundreds of millions, billions of people around the world can use, will eventually create more enterprise opportunities. And that's why I think it is going to be really exciting to work together with all of you around the consumer business models, whether that's advertising or subscription or in-lens purchase, all of which I think will be ways that folks can build businesses with Spectacles.
Thank you.
Hello. First of all, congratulations. I've been in this for like 8 years, so it's really cool to see how far it has come. And you guys don't have the extra computing.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay, now this question is going to be a little bit more difficult, but I think it's something that's important to ask. So you guys talked a lot about developers, how you want to be like a super friendly platform, how you need. You need us. It makes sense. What do you do when you can do anything? At the same time, while it's really impressive, you guys are showing off all the AI-generated lenses that create project files, which is really cool, but will financially undermine some of the work that's done in this room. A lot of people here, a lot of their income comes from like advertising lenses and stuff, and now it's a lot of that's going to go away. So how do you balance inspiring developer loyalty while openly working on these tools that will make the lives of some people here difficult?
So, great question, and I spoke to a few people after the keynote yesterday who asked similar things. So first of all, I think it's like we do not think that Easy Lens will take any work away from creators. And in fact, like even if we take the example of sponsored advertisers who are looking to advertise in AR, right now it's a huge barrier that the minimum amount of investment that an advertiser has to make to do anything in advertising in sponsored AR is several weeks of work. And so that we think we can significantly grow the total size by generally making AR creation more accessible. What we also see is that in places where our creators, our internal team actually spends huge amount of time investing in like very high quality, deep experiences. I guess the way I phrase it, I think there's like a lot of opportunity for lens experiences to be even deeper, more robust, like more detailed, like much more complex and interactive. And one of the things that gets in the way, one of the obvious things that gets in the way of that is just the time that it takes to kind of, from start to finish to build some of these things. So the thinking with Easy Lens and these other tools is that you can we can allow creators to build way bigger and more interesting experiences in the same amount of time that you would otherwise work on what you currently do. And you can kind of lower the barrier to allowing a much wider audience of people who will then continue to kind of fuel and grow the AR industry as a whole. So I think that's really, like, I think there's a lot of opportunity to kind of do both things with these tools.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the question.
Hello, thank you so much for all these initiatives. Super exciting. I had a question for all three of you. I wanted to ask, what is one book or one movie that inspires your vision of what AR can look like in the future? I would love for each one of you to share at least one book or a movie, if you feel comfortable.
I can go first.
Please.
Okay, so when I was 13, I read a book called Feed, actually, by M.T. Anderson. It talked about a future world where we all had a chip on our bodies and everything was AR and VR, but they didn't call it that because it was so normal. And I'm really aging myself, I had a T-Mobile Sidekick at the time. I'm sure many of you don't even know what that is. And I remember looking at it and being like, this makes no sense. I'm confined to this like little rectangle, I don't get it. So I always knew that I wanted to work in AR after reading that book. So I happened to be very early. And yeah, that was the first book that ever inspired me.
Thank you so much.
This is going to be so embarrassing because I'm forgetting the title of the book, but I'm going to describe it, and then someone's going to know, and then you can shout out the title, and then we'll figure it out. But there's a fabulous book where a young girl finds a basically computer-programmed book that teaches her lots of things. Do you already know it? Thank you. Yeah, done. All right, Diamond Age.
Was fast.
That was really inspiring to me because some of the things I'm most excited about in augmented reality are really oriented around learning. And I think what I'm seeing evolve with generative AI right now is making that vision possible on a timeline that is just way faster than I ever expected. So that to me is really, really exciting. And I think that's something that we pretty uniquely have an opportunity to go after just because we have such a deep relationship with our community and our customers, and combining our understanding of who they are and what they're looking for with the power of generative AI and spectacles as the delivery mechanism for these experiences, that to me is super exciting.
Amazing, thank you.
I've been, so Creativity Inc. is one of my favorite books. This talks about the early Pixar story. And it's less kind of specific to AR, but I think the combination of pushing graphics and just like ML technology forward while trying to be inventive and creative is really fascinating, because I think there's a lot of very creative people in the world who kind of use the tools that are available to make things. And then there are a lot of technologists in the world who are trying to kind of expand that. And I think there are very few companies that sit at the true intersection of those two things and are trying to do both at the same time. So.
Amazing, so thank you. So it was called Feed, The Diamond Age, and Creativity Inc.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, and a huge congrats on Spectacles. I've been working in AR for 19 years, so been following Snap very closely, and so always really grateful for the innovation and pushing the space forward. So my question is about external peripherals and thinking about the body, and if there are any plans now or in the future to perhaps connect to Apple Watch for heart rate, perhaps BCI, NextMind, or anything else that may personalize the experience, personalize the story, and drive that forward with biometrics.
So first of all, thank you for your long-term commitment to AR. It's so fun when I talk with our team because I'm like, oh man, we've been working on this a long time. And then they're like, well, I've been working on this 25 years when the headsets were mounted to the ceiling. And I'm like, right, sorry. So it really does take that sort of long-term commitment to create this kind of technology, and we really appreciate that. In terms of peripherals, that's on the roadmap, that's coming. I think one of the reasons why we wanted to get the 5th generation of Spectacles out is just so we could start delivering the OS updates really consistently and in response to all the feedback from our community. So that's coming. Can't wait to see what folks will build with that, but I think there's great opportunity there. And of course, we do have some long-term investments in BCI that I cannot talk about publicly, but I think will be fun over the long term as well.
All right, thank you so much. Congrats.
Hey, my name is Bilaval, also a decade in the industry, not quite roof-mounted, but let's say DK2 onward. So, y'all are one of the few companies that are kind of creating products and experiences anchored in the real world, connecting with like people and places around you. And of course, you're experimenting with LLMs with some of the stuff you showcased. You have your own AI chatbot. The question I have is around sort of how you think about embodied AI characters. You've obviously built these tremendous devices that have context into the real world around you. How do you think about, can we build AI characters that are additive to the real world, or are we building the frickin' Matrix?
I guess, I don't know if you have some immediate thoughts.
I do have a point of view.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Some of the things I've been most excited about so far, the team, and I think there is a demo of this. I don't know if we made it available yesterday, but I think we should make it available during LensFest, of actually taking folks who are real human beings in the real world and bringing them into AR with splatting and some of the more advanced techniques we've built around video. That to me is much more compelling than the AI-generated characters, mostly because as we looked at the chat space, I got kind of weirded out by the volume of like romantic partner AI chat stuff going on.
And consistently the ranking 4, I think like character AI was ahead of HBO and Netflix, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I just got like kind of weirded out by that. We were like, that's like not really where we want to play for now. So I'd say a lot of our focus is much more like, how do we bring the world's best, we have a great lens example of one of the world's top boxers teaching people how to box in AR with glasses. Like, those are the sorts of things that we're more excited about and more focused on. And I think that will help make a lot of that more accessible to people. If you could have the world's best coach in whatever you can think of, in your living room, that's exciting to me, and more so than the AI characters.
Yeah.
I'll add to just maybe more generally about, I think what's interesting to me about AI from an artistic kind of creative perspective is like its ability to amplify like original creative thinking. And so I love the idea that we can use generative tools to take original characters and kind of bring them into new scenes, or take original art styles and amplify them and extend them to any user. So like the Jonathan Yeo example we had on stage yesterday. So I think generally the capacity for AI to kind of take even kind of to the EasyLens question too. I think for anyone who's doing creative work, the ability to use AI to then like expand that and amplify it to more places is quite interesting, and we'll continue kind of exploring that space.
Thank you very much. If you got volumetric splats as in the lens, I think we'd all love to see it. Cheers.
Okay, we only have time for one more question.
All right. Should we try to do like rapid fire and get through 3 or something? Like
All right,
one
let's
sentence
go.
answers? I don't know.
All right. So I got a question more for like the specs developments wise. Will we be able to kind of escape the JavaScript sandbox and make bare metal apps like directly on the C++ level? Say I want to like stream video from the Spectacles to OBS and then to Twitch, or make like a video decoder or something like that. Is that anything that's in the works?
To what Evan said earlier, like this is kind of the whole point of our developer program is to get kind of feedback and questions like this. So I would say that's a fantastic one, and let's talk to the team about it. See what you're trying to do. And
thank you.
I don't know if I'm ruining the announcement, but developer mode gives folks raw camera access, and then we're figuring out how to evolve that in a way that can be privacy safe, but still let you build the experiences that you'd like for the broader community.
Yeah, right. I'm thinking kind of like the permission system you have on the Apple ecosystem, something like that. Just pitching ideas at this point. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So do you see a future where Spectacles and Snap OS can be the only devices that I leave my house with? I can leave all my other devices at home. And if so, what steps do you think need to be taken to make that possible?
Supposed to be rapid fire.
You can talk really fast.
We certainly think that'll be a possibility over the longer term, although I think in the near term, the ability for Spectacles to interoperate with your phone, with your laptop, with your desktop is something that's exciting to us, because the reality is we use all these different technical products for different reasons and for different use cases. And so I think interoperability is more important than sort of one device to rule them all. But I certainly think a lot of the basic functionality around being able to, like if you kind of go through the top things folks are doing with their phones, call your friends, use basic, web browsing and email. Those are the sorts of things that I think we'll have to check the box on before you can feel like just run out the door.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, last one.
Hello, I'm Sasha Zvigalyan, and my question is, while other companies are focusing on putting humanity in a virtual reality, Snap is focusing on keeping us in reality, but with the virtual world blending in. So my question is, why is Snap's strategy better for the future of humanity?
Oh, I love that. Fundamentally, and I think this is supported by the research, people's relationships with one another are the #1 predictor of their mental health and well-being. And relationships are at the heart of everything we do with Snapchat. It's at the core of the Snapchat experience, and it needs to be at the core of the future of computing. And I think a lot of computers, I really felt this growing up. In order to get all the awesomeness out of computing, I had to go to the computer lab, and it took me away from recess with my friends, right, and hang out. And I really dream of this world where I look out the window and our 4 boys are running around outside wearing glasses, playing together, and I talk to my wife, I'm like, we can't get them off the damn computer, Because I think computers have the potential to bring people together and to empower creativity, and I think that future is going to be much better for all of us.
Totally agree. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you both.
Thank you.
What an exciting vision for the future. Some might say I already wore my glasses almost for the past 12 hours. It's so exciting to be able to wear them everywhere. Up next, you will hear from one of my favorite people talk about the technical details that make working at Snap and on Spectacles so exciting. Daniel Wagner leads our Spectacles software team. He's probably one of the most knowledgeable people in the industry. I actually recall 5 years ago reading one of his blog posts, and I could not get enough of it. Over the next 30 minutes, Daniel will dive into the technical path that got us to Spectacles today, the 5th generation. He'll also talk about all the challenges that it takes to design an efficient computing vision algorithm that balances the power, yet at the same time achieves low latency for a truly immersive experience. Please welcome to the stage, Daniel Wagner.
Thanks, Tarek, and thanks everyone for coming here today. Snap started working on AR glasses about 10 years ago. And different from many other companies, we always focus on what is technically possible with a wearable standalone glasses form factor. Our first glasses were released in 2016 and enabled users to take videos and photos. They came with an easy integration with the Snapchat application to share pictures and videos with friends. Our second generation was released in 2018 and improved the capture quality and the robustness of the glasses. In 2019, we released the third generation, which had stereo cameras to take 3D pictures and videos. And then, in 2021, we released our first truly see-through AR glasses. With these, users could now experience lenses directly on Spectacles, the same way they would in the Snapchat application on the phone, but now in stereo and full 3D. These were our first all-in-one AR glasses, the first of their kind with this form factor and capabilities. No tethering with a phone or an external compute unit. The displays had a 26-degree field of view, and despite the very small form factor, these glasses were able to do 6DoF tracking, face tracking, body tracking, and some scene understanding. Nothing has come close in form factor and capabilities until today. Now, with our new Spectacles, we've made another huge breakthrough in AR glasses development. These new Spectacles remain untethered, enabling immersive, outdoor, on-the-go experiences. And like most great inventions, getting there required overcoming many unexpected challenges. Today, I will talk about 4 of these challenges: displays, computer vision, power consumption, and latency. Let's look at displays first. Immersive AR experiences require displays that can overlay virtual content onto the real world. Today, there are 2 main approaches that are entirely different, and they split all XR devices into 2 very distinct categories. The first category of devices uses video pass-through for its display. Essentially, it works like this. A camera captures the real world, and a computer program adds virtual content directly into the camera image. This image is then shown to the user via the display. This video pass-through usually works best when most of the view will be filled with virtual content, as it is the case with VR and MR. Because it uses mature components, such as color cameras and OLED displays, it is relatively straightforward to mass market. However, because of the large displays and the thick lenses and multiple cameras, this leads to rather heavy and bulky designs. Devices with video pass-through often look like ski goggles. Also, with this tech, there are severe limitations in focus distance, dynamic range, and image resolution. And a lot of power has to go into reproducing the real world on the screen. The second category of devices is optical see-through. This approach optically merges the real world and virtual content. The light from the real world directly reaches the user's eyes through the optical combiner, which also reflects the virtual content into the user's eyes to create an augmented experience. Optical see-through works best when only a small portion of the view is filled with virtual content, and the majority of the scene remains indeed real. One of the main advantages here is that this allows the user to perceive the real world with proper depth rather than as a pair of flat stereo images. Each real-world object has its correct focus distance. There's also no limitations in dynamic range or resolution for the real world. And it allows for compact and lightweight designs. However, there are usually limitations with display brightness, especially for outdoor use. And the augmentable field of view is more limited than with video pass-through. Today, most high-end AR headsets use waveguides. Waveguides are thin pieces of glass that guide the light of an image from one location to another. They use optical elements at nanoscale that split the light and send it into different directions, with some of the light directed to the eye and some of it directed in the waveguide to allow it to continue propagating through the glass. In AR headsets with waveguides, there's a tiny image projector, just a few centimeters in size. The projector injects the light into the waveguide, either on the side or above the user's eye. The light then bounces inside the waveguide until it leaves in front of the user's eye so that the user can see what was the image that was emitted by the projector. As mentioned before, the light from the real world just passes through the waveguide, so real and virtual are combined optically. Because of the small projector and the thin waveguide, this approach allows for very compact and lightweight designs. On the downside, most waveguides have challenges with color uniformity, and achieving a large field of view is difficult. Also, low optical efficiency can result in high power consumption. At Snap, we use a proprietary display that was fully developed in-house and is specifically designed for our spectacles. It consists of a custom waveguide, a custom projector, and inside that projector is a custom LCOS display panel. As with cameras and OLED displays, waveguides and projectors can be acquired from third-party vendors. So why did we decide to make our own? Well, firstly, with AR glasses as compact as ours, the shape of the display largely defines the shape of the overall glasses. So if you use somebody else's display design, you have to design your glasses around that display. Instead, we start with the design of our spectacles and then design the display to fit inside these glasses. Also, having full control over all parameters allows for a more balanced design. We designed our display to optimize form factor, immersion, power consumption, and overall visual quality. And this enabled us to create the smallest and lowest power projector with outdoor usability. And the pixels inside our LCOS are, as far as we are aware, the smallest pixels in any LCOS display panel. The waveguides in spectacles use a single-step 2D pupil expansion mechanism. That's a complex word, but I will explain what it means in more detail. But most importantly, it means, different to many other AR glasses, we don't have to compromise the shape of the see-through stack due to waveguide constraints. Let's talk about pupil expansion. When the image is projected into the waveguide by the projector, that pupil is tiny, just a few millimeters in size. So if you don't do the pupil expansion, then it would only be visible in an equally small area where it exits the waveguide. I think everyone has experienced this with binoculars, where you can see only something if your eyes are placed exactly at the right location. Since spectacles need to fit many users with different interpupillary distances, and with the user's eyes moving during use, we have to expand this area to become much larger. In the image here, you see a 1D plus 1D pupil expansion mechanism, as it is used by many other AR glasses. In the top left in blue, you see the input as it comes from the projector. And because the projector is tiny, this input is also tiny. With 1D expansion, the pupil is first expanded in one direction in this green area, and then light takes a turn and is expanded again in the direction toward the exit area marked in red. You will notice that while the red area is much larger than the blue area, it is still small compared to the whole lens. In the example here, which is based on some real AR glasses, the exit area covers only about 15% of the whole lens. With our spectacles, the waveguides do this expansion in a single step. Our waveguides directly expand the pupil to its full size inside the exit area. And this enables us to make much better use of the available lens area. And as a result, the exit area of our glasses covers around 35% of the whole lens. If we wanted to make a waveguide with 1D plus 1D expansion that had the same field of view and the same eye box size as ours, it would look like this. The two 1D expansion areas would have to be pretty large. In fact, this would be a very large waveguide, too large to fit into AR glasses like our spectacles, as this side-by-side comparison shows. Okay, enough about displays. Let's look at the next challenge, computer vision. In the early days of AR, we usually used dedicated tracking hardware, such as magnetic, mechanical, acoustic, or optical systems. Those were dedicated large devices, and usually quite expensive. 25 years ago, this changed dramatically with the release of AR Toolkit, which was the first open source AR tracking library. With AR Toolkit, suddenly everyone with a computer and webcam could develop simple AR applications. All you had to do was to print out those black and white markers and hold them in front of the camera to get real-time 6 degrees of freedom tracking, also called 6DoF tracking. This means you will see virtual content in the right location and rotated correctly. In today's AR systems, you rarely ever see those black and white markers anymore. Instead, modern methods use so-called natural feature tracking approaches. Natural features are structures in the natural environment, such as shapes or textures on objects. 6DoF tracking is the basis of any AR system, and today we usually combine camera data and inertial measurement data into a more efficient and more robust system by fusing those two together. This works very well because they are complementary in nature. Camera data allows for accurate and absolute tracking, but it's expensive to process. And camera update rates are usually rather low, like 30 or 60 hertz. IMU data is much less accurate, but it is highly robust, and it comes at rates like 1,000 hertz, and it is relatively cheap to process. So if you combine the two in a smart way, you get a system that is accurate and robust and has a low computational cost. Let's look at the specific computer vision challenges for AR glasses, which are quite different from AR on mobile phones or AR headsets. First, because of the small size of the AR glasses, we are severely restricted in what type of cameras we can select, as well as where we can place them. These cameras need to be tiny and should not pop out, which rules out cameras with a very wide field of view. Also, because of the limited space, there are only a few places where we can put these cameras. We are also quite limited by the amount of compute power that glasses have, but we'll look at that in a later section. Also, unlike head-mounted displays, AR glasses are not rigid. Just like prescription glasses, AR glasses need to be flexible to be comfortable to wear. So they bend and twist slightly as people walk around or touch them. Also, different head sizes have quite a significant impact. Unlike traditional computer vision systems that assume rigidity, we need to constantly estimate this twisting and bending at runtime. We consider two core computer vision features for spectacles. One is 6DoF tracking. Spectacles are much more spatial than most VR and MR video pass-through headsets, which people usually use indoors while sitting or standing. With spectacles, we expect people to walk around outside in their homes or wherever they want. So we developed a robust and highly optimized 6DoF tracker that continuously estimates the motion of spectacles at a rate of 800 Hertz. And it uses only 80 milliwatts to do so. 80 milliwatts is a very low number. For comparison, that's how much your phone uses when it's in your pocket, seemingly off. And it can work with one camera or two cameras, which is useful if, say, the user's hair covers one of the cameras. And it works well indoors and outdoors. Another core computer vision feature is hand tracking, which is our main input modality. So it's also running almost all the time. It processes images from the two color cameras, as well as the two infrared cameras. It is machine learning based and also developed fully in-house. It has an absolute tracking accuracy of about 10 to 15 millimeters and a jitter of about 2 millimeters only. As with the 6DoF tracker, it is optimized for low power consumption and uses about 200 milliwatts only. And of course, as with our 6DoF tracker, it works well indoors and outdoors. In addition to those core computer vision features, which basically run all the time, Spectacles also offers other computer vision features which only run when a lens requires them. One of them is scene understanding, which can generate depth maps in real time, which can then be used to do real-time raycasting. As a creator, you get the 3D location of an object or surface in the environment. This video shows a lens that uses this feature to enable the user to paint flowers onto any surface. You can also get an environment mesh when using, for example, physics effects. And of course, like all Spectacles technology, it works well indoors as well as outdoors. We also include SnapML on Spectacles, which enable lens developers to deploy their own machine learning networks for the lens. This is a very powerful mechanism. Look at this piano tutor lens that automatically detects and tracks a piano for the user to play on it. And by the way, it also uses SnapML to perform audio pitch detection via the microphones, so the system can check if the user is playing the song correctly. Okay, now let's look at power consumption of AR devices. Early PC-based setups, like the ones I mentioned before with AR Toolkit, typically used over 100 watts. At the time, that wasn't a problem, because they were not mobile and drew power from a wall plug. Mobile phones, which can also do AR today, have to run on their integrated battery. They can usually consume up to 5 to 10 watts. For AR applications, that means if you use too many AR features at the same time, your phone can quickly overheat. VR and MR headsets are much larger than phones and have more powerful cooling systems. They typically use 10 to 20 watts. AR glasses, like our Spectacles, are highly constrained in power consumption and can only use up to around 5 watts. Let's look at why. AR glasses are wearable devices with permanent, tight skin contact. This means that the allowed touch temperature is much lower than for mobile phones. Also, they are very close to your eyes, so you really don't want them to get too hot. So what about cooling? Well, fans and heat pumps are loud. They require additional space, and they need quite some power on their own. For example, if I want to actively dissipate 3 watts of heat, I will need to add around another watt just to do that. So active cooling is not really an option for us. That means we are basically left with passive cooling, which relies on the temperature difference between the device and the environment. The amount of heat we can wick away mostly depends on the amount of surface area. The more surface area, the more heat we can dissipate. So power consumption of air glasses is mostly limited by heat dissipation capacity. And due to the small form factor, only a little heat can be dissipated. In practice, if you have a processor somewhere here in the temple of your pair of air glasses, that processor can consume something like 1 to 2 watts only. With spectacles, we address these power challenges through a unique, symmetric electronic design that perfectly fits the shape of glasses. Instead of one processor, as it is the case with mobile phones, we have 2 processors, one on each side. Each processor can draw up to 1.8 watts without overheating. With 2 processors, we can almost double our compute capacity. Spectacles also have 2 batteries, one on each side, and 2 vapor chambers to minimize hotspots and maximize the convectible surface area on each side. Of course, this requires a fairly complex electronic design. We have interconnects going from one side to the other that transport hundreds of signals for dozens of buses. And these interconnects also go across the hinges because the processors are located behind them. It is very challenging to create an electric connections that go across hinges. However, the processors are not the only element to generate heat. The displays do so as well. So we went one step further and separated them into distinct zones. The heat from the processors is transported backwards toward the batteries, which can also act as heat sinks. And the heat from the displays is transported forward to the front frame. To support our dual processor architecture, we developed a new operating system called Snap OS. With Snap OS, one processor drives the camera path, including all the cameras, the image signal processor, and the computer vision algorithms. The other processor drives the display path, including all the lenses, all the 3D rendering, and the late-stage reprojection for latency reduction. We carefully decided which algorithms to run where to optimize the load balance. And additionally, we included a power sandbox that controls how much power a lens is allowed to consume. We also designed our software and hardware architecture such that it minimizes the amount of data that needs to go from one side to the other, because sending data across a bus also uses a lot of power. Finally, let's look at the challenge of latency. Latency shows up as a lack of alignment between real and virtual and is usually measured in time, such as milliseconds. For example, if I move my hand and I'm holding a virtual object in that hand, then because of latency, the virtual object will always follow behind my real hand. Latency is a very challenging problem in optical see-through AR glasses. Video pass-through is more forgiving, but in optical see-through, even just 5 milliseconds can be very visible. So ideally, we would have a latency of 0, but an actual latency of 0 is technically impossible. So instead, our strategy is to get the true system latency down as much as possible and then use prediction to lower it further. So now let's look at how we handle latency and how we reduce latency on spectacles for the case of scene rendering. This is the so-called motion to photon latency, and essentially the hot path from the IMU to the display. It is a great example of how various pieces of our system work together. In our example here, on the bottom left in this diagram is the 6th tracking system, which processes camera images, which come at 30 Hertz, and IMU data, which comes at 800 Hertz. The 6th tracker calculates what we call poses. Poses describe the motion of the glasses in the environment, and the output is 800 Hertz. These poses are consumed by various computer vision algorithms, but we also send them over to the other processor on the right side of spectacles. Okay, so these 800 Hertz pose updates then go into the pose predictor, which can extrapolate these measurements to make predictions of the glasses' motion into the near future. The first client that uses these predictions is the renderer. The renderer's job is to create the image that will later be shown on the display. However, it doesn't need to create the image for the glasses' current pose, but for the pose that the glasses will have when the image will be visible later on the display. So let's assume it takes around 30 milliseconds from the time the renderer starts rendering until it will finally be visible on the display. So the renderer asks the pose predictor for a pose 30 milliseconds into the future, and then uses that pose to render the scene. For power reasons, it usually renders at 60 Hertz, but our display runs at 120 Hertz. We use the late-stage reprojector to make final adjustments to the frames before they go to the display. So it takes these frames, which come at 60 Hertz, and upsamples them to 120 Hertz. However, our display is a color sequential display, which means it shows red, green, and blue not at the same time, but one after the other. So per color, it actually runs at 360 Hertz. To do this upsampling and to reduce latency once more, the late-stage reprojector also uses poses from the pose predictor, one separate pose for each color, since each color will be visible at a different time. Of course, these predictions are based on newer IMU data than what the renderer used earlier, so they have also lower latency. The output of the late-stage reprojector is not one full color image, but 3 separate images, one per color, called color planes. Each color plane only uses about 1/3 of the data compared to the full color image. So sending a color plane to the display also uses only about 1/3 of the time. Since the display will show red first, it saves quite some latency to first send just the red color plane, which can immediately be shown on the display, and then we send green and finally blue. If we had a pure camera-to-display path with no latency reduction, then the end-to-end latency would be around 80 to 100 milliseconds, which would look horrible, because as said, even just 5 milliseconds can be very visible. But thanks to this special pipeline, it is possible to reduce the true latency down to 13 milliseconds. And thanks to 360 Hertz post prediction, we can show render output on a display that has virtually 0 latency, which means you don't notice the latency. Let's quickly recap all that Spectacles has to offer. Spectacles are an unparalleled device. There's literally nothing like it. It is untethered for maximum mobility. It has foldable, flexible temples for high wearing comfort. It has optical see-through displays for indoor and outdoor use with a switchable dimmer. Its displays have 46-degree field of view. And with its 4 cameras, we can do high-quality lens capture and robust computer vision. And it has 2 processors with 2 vapor chambers for maximum compute power. And all that in this small device. And we developed SnapOS for the new Spectacles. It has dual processor support for optimal load balance. It uses Snapchat's proven render engine, now also optimized for AR glasses. It does late-stage reprojection at 360 Hertz, achieving a motion-to-photon latency of just 13 milliseconds. It comes with all the computer vision capabilities required for strong AR experiences. It comes with My AI as your personal assistant on the go. And it has spectator mode, so you can see lenses in real time from a third-person view on your mobile phone. We've worked hard on our new Spectacles, and it was a great pleasure seeing it all come together.